guys, this is Carrie with Fullerton Professional Organizing, and I'm a little bit casual today, and I've switched back to my craft room. Tell me which room you like better. Would you prefer me to do my podcast in my craft room or back in my dining room? I do know that my dining room has a focus wall that's a little bit prettier. I was hoping that would be what I had in my background here, but it turns out I'm not at the right angle. So all you see are my computer, my printer, and my door. So we'll figure out this arrangement in here eventually and see what works better. Maybe I'll go sit on this little couch and do my podcasts again. But this one right here is going to be a little bit more casual. And again, today we're talking about we're talking about budgeting again, and this is another idea. This idea came from Ashley Lapato. Ashley, let's see, let me find her information. She has, well, I will have it in the description box because I know you guys just want me to get started, but she labeled herself as someone who was a spender and simply bad at money. She had no confidence in herself and definitely had no control over her money and felt like her finances were just a mess. Now, fast forward to today, she has paid off $20,000 in debt, saved up for fun vacations and home projects, and now she makes financial decisions, both big ones and small ones, with so much more confidence. All right, and what she did to get started was she read a book called You Need a Budget, The Proven System for Breaking the Paycheck to Paycheck Cycle, Getting Out of Debt and Living the Life You Want. That system changed her life so much that she now works there. She liked the system so much she started working there. And sorry guys, I just saw all the makeup under my eye smudged. So the first thing she says is we need clarity. So we know what we want, control over our finances, and the confidence to pay our bills. Save up for dream vacations, build our business, plan for retirement, whatever your priorities are. But how do we get there? First, we need clarity on how much we can spend. And clarity comes from knowing how much you make every month. And this really does work because you do have to build in some fun money so that you don't feel like it's such a burden. But she says, have you ever asked yourself this question? Can I afford this? This question is a cry for clarity, and where do we go to find answers? And that's the bank account. And she talks about how you look at your balance and you go, okay, I have so much money in my account right now today. So what I need to do now is think, let's see, my rent's coming out, my blah, blah, blah is coming out, my etc. is coming out. So if I spend this money on this item, will I be able to pay the bills? And you make all those mental calculations in your head, right? She said, I'd pull it up, see my checking account total, and think, okay, I have that bill coming, and tomorrow, and did the mortgage already come out, and is it personal property taxes this month or next month? I think I can afford it. I'm sure it'll be fine. Okay, That mental math is exhausting, and it got me in trouble more times than I can count because our checking account balance doesn't have all the information. So then she says, I'm going on purpose I'm going to propose a different solution, and this is our first rule: give every dollar a job. I like the way she one of the podcasts, if you'll go back, they said every dollar has a purpose. Here she says every dollar has a job. And I like that because it really does kind of shift your mindset. And I like the way she changes the mindset on this, and we'll explain it a little more. But she says, so I'm going to propose a different solution, and this is our first rule: give every dollar a job. Back when I hated budgeting, I thought the budget was telling me what to do, which was to never spend money on anything fun. Now, I have to admit, I still have that struggle personally. I am the type that I see fun cost money. So there's my struggle. I feel like I need to be responsible, so I struggle with spending money for fun. Now, my husband doesn't necessarily have as much of a struggle with that, although he has gotten a little bit better since we first got married. But now we're at a place where we do have a little bit of fun money, because when we first got married, we didn't even have money for anything. And if you've listened to any of my other podcasts on money, you will know that our date night was 25-cent ice cream sandwiches. And when he really wanted to splurge, and we couldn't even afford the short stop 5 burgers for $5, and that was a splurge. So that was our first year of marriage, and thankfully we didn't have to stay there. He did graduate from college. He did get a full-time job, and we've grown from there, and we've learned a lot along the way, because we did get ourselves in a lot of debt back then. Since then, we have dug ourselves out. I think we've been mostly out of debt for 23 years, other than our house and car payments. That probably wouldn't pass Dave Ramsey, but we did have some debt. Okay. So let's see. She says, I thought the budget was telling me what to do, which was to never spend money on anything fun. We already talked about that. Who gives jobs to others? Who gives jobs to others? She says, employers, bosses, business owners. When I tell you to give your dollar a job, that's me reminding you that you are in charge, just like a boss is in charge of running their business and their employee and telling their employees what to do. You're going to treat your money the same. All right. However, what if you thought about checking in with your budget with the mindset of a boss checking in on their employees? There is no question of who is in charge. That's what budgeting gives you. You go from an uneasy or even antagonistic relationship with your money to being the one clearly and comfortably in control. So every single time I get money from my job, side hustle, selling something, I have to give those new dollars a job. And I start by asking myself this question: what does this money need to do before I get paid again? So she says include, your paycheck and any money that you're given or you make aside from your paycheck as well. All right. And then she says, okay. And a life planning tool. As you begin to give your dollars their jobs, of course, some are going to get boring jobs. I like the way she put that. Boring jobs, paying for housing, utilities, subscriptions, all important things. But what I love about budgeting, and this was my first big aha moment, is so much more than that. A budget is truly a life planning tool. A budget will help you be wise with your have-tos so you can make room for your wants. Think about it right now. What would you love to have extra money for? And I'm going to tell you right now, I have an older home. As you can see, some of the features behind me, other than my decorations, that door back there is not that cute because I have an old home that hasn't really been updated in a long time. So now that my husband and I are empty nesters, the two things that we save money for are vacations and for home updates. And so you have to have a why, and you have to have a reason and a plan. So she says, my other big aha moment is that the give every dollar a job rule also means your savings, which I just mentioned. My savings would be for travel and for home updates, which we have to do. Even if we were to sell this house, these are updates. They have to be done before we can even sell the home. So we might as well save up so we can do these updates and live in an updated home before we even think about ever selling. So she used to love to do is sit down in December and think about everything she wanted to accomplish the next year, and for home things. Also, always for so long, my number one goal was to replace the carpeting in our in our house. The carpets were pretty rough, and I knew that it would get those, that if we could get those redone, it would make the entire space look so much better. Just like me updating my home, I would love to get that updated so that we'll feel better about enjoy living here more. So I never gained any real traction with my savings, and the terrible carpet remained. This went on for years until I created my first budget using the YNAB mentioned. YNAB taught me to budget my savings dollars instead of just lump them into one savings. And that is the website, I believe, that she has. And you need a budget. YouNeedABudget.com. So YouNeedABudget.com taught me to budget my savings dollars instead of just lump them into one savings category. So I went through and allocated, sorry, can't talk. Some dollars went to emergency fund, some went to an upcoming vacation, and some went to that new flooring category. Suddenly things became so much more real. Within a few months, she had saved up enough money to get her new carpet put in, and that was a great accomplishment. And yes, she did start budgeting because she wanted to be more organized and pay her bills on time. But she says, I love that it's more than that. It can be used as a life planning tool to make sure that you get the things you want without stress. And that's the key right there. is the stress, because when you have people calling you for, your bills, you have things like that, paycheck to paycheck, it really is stressful. So we are on board with rule number 1, give every dollar a job. Does this mean we have total control of our money yet? No. Can you tell me right now the date of your next car repair? How much will it cost? Your washing machine. Do you know exactly how many loads you can run before it's going to break down? And we just recently had an issue with our washing machine. Some parts had worn out and it wasn't rotating anymore, so it wasn't getting our clothes clean. We found a video on YouTube and figured out exactly what was wrong with it, and it could have cost us just a few dollars to fix, and therefore we knew that we didn't need to buy a new washing machine, we just needed to get it fixed. Now, we thought about fixing it ourselves, but then ours looked a little different than the video. Well, we went ahead, it didn't cost that much. It was like $150 to have a guy come out, and since we already knew what was wrong with it, one, it kept us from being told something that could have cost us more. Trust but verify. It kept us and the repair person honest, because we knew exactly what was wrong with it. We knew exactly what needed to be fixed. And two, he was able to tell us ours had completely dissolved. That's why ours looked different. There were some little things on there that we could have just replaced. We could have ordered them and replaced them, but because they weren't even there anymore, that kind of freaked us out a little bit. But he told us, yes, we were absolutely correct. Those things just deteriorated into dust. He replaced them, and here we had $150 that we were able to get it fixed without buying a new washing machine. So, and it's always good to find out on YouTube anytime you need to fix something. Either one, you can fix it yourself. YouTube will at least let you know exactly what's wrong, so you're not cheated by any unknown repair person, and that will save you money as well. Just had to throw that in because that was a real life experience for us this weekend, and now we have his business card. We feel like we can trust him if we need anything, and we asked him questions about our dryer and our dishwasher, and he told us if our motor goes out on our dishwasher, we might as well get a new dishwasher because the motor is just as expensive. So that's going to also help us in the long run, because we were able to ask him some questions while he was already at the house about the other appliances that he works on. So don't forget to ask questions. Don't forget to go to YouTube and learn something that will keep you from losing money. All right, so now let me go back to the budget savings into categories. So she went through and allotted some dollars to the emergency vacation and all of that. Within a few months, the carpet was being replaced, and so it didn't start budgeting, and I went to that. So now, unpredictable expenses. We talked about car repairs, washing machine, etc. Now, she says, embrace your true expenses. That's rule number 2. Embrace your true expenses. Okay. I guess I'm going to be proactive. I'm going to start treating these less frequent non-monthly expenses like a monthly bill. Here are some examples of my true expenses: home maintenance, car repair, Christmas or gifts, tacky, your pets, property taxes, all of those things that are you just know you're going to have, but you forget about because they're not things that come out monthly. Each month I set aside some money in my little digital envelopes for each one of these categories, and before long I built up a good amount of cash. There's some others to get you thinking, like if you have kids, it'll be school supplies, if you have to have glasses, summer camps, all of those holidays, all of those things that are not a monthly, they have to have a little savings set aside for that. What's funny is that right after that, she had a bunch of things break down, and she was able, because she had already started budgeting, she was able to walk right in and take care of those things because she had the money set aside. And because she's been setting aside money each month for the true expenses, I walked right into Best Buy and bought a new washer. In her case, she bought a new washer. Now, let's take Christmas, for example. If you're budgeting $50 every single month, then you get to December. It's so much fun to think about everybody and to go out shopping without having to put the presents on credit cards and think, how am I going to pay this credit card bill when January comes? So you've set the money aside, and it makes Christmas and birthdays a lot more affordable with cash. Now, we are on to my favorite rule, she says. Rule number 3, roll with the punches. This rule is all about giving yourself grace, and it's one of the big reasons I think that this method worked for her when she had failed so many times before. Sad to say, I don't think there's such a thing as a normal month. Things happen, cars break down, friends unexpectedly come into town to visit, and the days where we just are not feeling it and we went out to eat. Roll with the punches means that we can recognize our circumstances and priorities can change, and that our budget can and should change too, because remember, from the beginning of this session, our budgets are supposed to align with our priorities. So if we get new information, that changes those priorities. Her best friend got a promotion. She wanted to take her out to eat, and she didn't have money set aside for that. Now, I suggest you have a gifts budget that includes Christmas gifts, birthday gifts, or taking a friend out to dinner because she received a promotion. You could put that under gifts and just have that little category set aside. But she now had to figure out where she was going to cut back and pull that money from. And she had some money set aside to renovate her office, and so she took that money out of that because she figured she could wait a little longer. And it was, I guess she spent $70 on taking her friend out to eat for that promotion. So things would pop up that I completely forgot to budget for. So if that happens to you too, remember, you're not failing, you're learning. And isn't it wonderful to think that budgets can be forgiving, not restrictive? So this is normal. So be kind to yourself. You've already taken a huge step in gaining total control of your money. Now, we have no cushion, no margin, and that's a stressful way to live. I wish I could go back. She says she wished this was her younger days before she started with this budgeting plan, and she wished she could go back to her younger version and tell her it doesn't have to be that way. And to the rule number 4, age your money. If you have to guess, how long does it normally take for $1 to be spent after it arrives in your bank account? A week, a day, an hour? My goal was to age my money 30 days. meaning money I make today will be used to pay for next month's expenses. So she had to save up enough money so that she had 30 days worth of money saved up. Now, younger me might have said, easier said than done. I'm barely lasting till payday, and you want me to save enough to be an entire month ahead in my bills. But eventually, I did just that. And most say you should have 3 months saved up, and then others say you should have 3 years saved up in case you get laid off. So, you know, it just depends on what's going on in your life currently. But following this method, I gained some momentum, and by focusing on my financial priorities and giving every dollar a job, I started to consistently spend less than I earned. My spending habits began changing to support my big picture financial goals. So that is great. Now, when I started tracking my spending in her app, I found out I was spending more money than I needed on things that didn't really matter to me. And sometimes you don't know how much you spend, because I used to go to Dollar Tree once or twice a week to buy inexpensive things for decorating or craft projects or parties. And it really does add up more than you actually think it does. So it's good to do this just so you know how much you're spending. And in her case, she says a lot of Chipotle and Kava is where her money was going, and she'd rather have the money to use on other things. I had so many streaming beauty sample boxes, planner accessory boxes. I canceled some but didn't feel bad about it. I felt in control because she realized she was spending too much in certain areas, and instead of cutting it all completely out, she knew where she could back off a little and cut out a little, still have the things that she loved, but maybe not as much or maybe not as often. And so if you start following these rules, if you give every dollar a job, embrace your true expenses, and roll with the punches whenever your priorities change, you're going to notice that your money starts sticking around in your bank account longer because you are actually spending less than you're earning. This is going to start snowballing. It will get easier and easier, and 1 month maybe you've got a little bit more left, and you go, wow, I don't think I need that for October. I'm going to set aside this money for November. And eventually you'll get to a point where you're a full month ahead, and that is a wonderful stress-free place to be. Now, managing our finances and budgeting is a skill we can get better at, and when we do, our entire life benefits. We sleep better, we save our money, have better relationships, and we can build a brighter future for ourselves and those we love. How do I save money on food is a question that she gets on her website, and so we're going to tackle some of that. She said, I've stopped thinking about my grocery budget in terms of a month. Let's say on September 1st, I decide I'm going to spend $400 this month on groceries. Instead of thinking about the $400 and trying to spend all $400, she breaks it up by week and decides to spend $100 a week on groceries. And that way, she doesn't wind up getting sidetracked by chocolates and cakes and all these things that she could spend her money on at the grocery store, and then wind up at the end of the month having to use up all the things that she purchased for the $400 and not have anything to eat. So instead, she does her grocery shopping once a week, and she's able to maintain it a lot better. So let's see. Some unnecessary instead, I think I have $100 this week for groceries. That keeps me on budget and helps to smooth things out during the month. 2, I've come to realize that meal planning doesn't have to be a huge weekly project. I used to build it up to be this big, terrible task, but I've realized I like to have the same thing for breakfast and for lunch. I try to have leftovers, so that leaves me with really only having to plan dinners, which seems so much more doable in my mind. And I have a meal plan in one of my newer podcasts. Go ahead and check that out, because I tell you, if you have a whole month of just the easiest stuff that takes 10 minutes to cook, and you fill your month up with all the 10-minute easy meals, and then when you feel like cooking, and then when you or have energy, or you want to try something new, you can add it in instead of the other way around, having all these things that take up a lot of time and effort, and then when you don't feel like it, just throwing in some hot dogs. This is so easy, and it's a fairly healthy plan if you don't add in all the unhealthy stuff to it. So you can check out one of my meal planning podcasts and get those easy recipes or easy ideas. There's not recipes on there, but they're really pretty easy. So for her, she does, but her plan is pasta. She usually has pasta night, a sheet pan meal, a taco night, and a salad night. And she suggests a pinch of yum and the rainbow chicken salad. I'm going to have to check that one out. And she also mentions, well, let me just read this to you, what she says. My favorite salad recipe is from a blog called A Pinch of Yum, and if you search for rainbow chicken salad, you'll find it. I'm not even that much of a homemade person, but I love that salad dressing, and I think I make it every single week. Kendra Adachi is her meal planning guru. I attended her session in Get Organized HQ last year, 2020? Yeah, 2020, because this is 2021. Yes. I attended her session, and brainless crowd for her. My favorite tip is the brainless crowd pleasers. These are meals that either me or my husband can make. We both like. They're not crazy expensive, and there's not a ton of cleanup. So I keep these in a special tag in the meal planning app I use, which is called Plan to Eat. And it makes it so easy when these are in my rotation. And then she talks about having some emergency meals set aside. And you can do that just by cooking, especially her. It's just two of them, and with my husband, it's just two of us. So if you make one casserole and divide it up into four, you have some emergency meals set aside. But she says how to make budgeting a habit. How can I make budgeting a habit? Keep your budget where you can see it. If you're using a paper planner, do not keep it in a drawer. Keep it out on your desk so it's always top of the mind. I kept mine out on my countertop in my kitchen because that was where I had to see it every single day to start that habit of doing my meal plan. But now I did my whole 1 month of meal planning, and like I said, then now I add in my emergency meals, and I learned some new easy recipes just by factor meals, keto factor meals, delivered some meals, and I started trying to find recipes so that I could duplicate those meals and have those on hand as well. So our keto factor meals are the meals that we have on Fridays, because we go out to eat every Wednesday, and we have some frozen dinner on Fridays. And guys, if you are wanting to start a keto diet and you don't know if you will enjoy any of the meals, and you like meals with a lot of flavor, we have eaten these meals for now 2 months, and we have not yet had one meal that we did not like. Not one. And I'm very picky about my frozen food. I like all of my food to taste like it was picked from the garden and homemade. Even if I go out to eat on my Wednesdays for my date night every week, I order the same thing, almost the same thing at every restaurant. I always ask what the most popular meal is, or if I have some choices, I ask the waitress what her favorite out of my 3 choices are, if she's tried them. And because I don't want to pay for a meal that has no flavor. So guys, try the keto factor meals if you really want to lose weight and eat low carb, you're diabetic. They're delicious. Okay, let me go back to this. It says, make it a joy to use. Our budget should, of course, be functional, but it also can be pretty. If you want to make it pretty, use some stickers. I'm not going to go into that so much. She says, I said that a budget really is a life planning tool. So as you're building it, if you add in goals that excite you, it makes it a joy to use, and you are excited to look at it. So you're that much more likely to pull it out every day. And then she said, and we've talked about the book Atomic Habits, where they talk about habit stacking. Add it on to something that you already do every day. She talks about how she puts on sunscreen or moisturizer on her face every day, but she wants it to sit on her face and dry before she adds makeup. So she uses that time to just open up her planner and do what she needs to do every morning, and then she puts on makeup. So and now she says, should I save or pay down debt? She says she did both. We actually have and she also has a free course on her website, youneedabudget.com, and that will help you to pay down debit, and it talks about that. She says, how do you get your partner on board when you're not sure and you're just at the beginning of starting a budget? She says, date nights. Use 3 date nights to start talking about his dreams, your dreams, and what you would like to do, vacations, what kind of fun things would each of you like to do? What are your dreams? What are your bucket lists? Talk about those for the first 3, and then on the next date, start talking about how you can save, and do it that way. Here's what worked for her. First, create a fun money category for each of you. When you tell your partner, hey, I think we should start budgeting, they might actually hear, hey, stop spending so much money, or you are never going to be able to buy anything you like ever again, which we know is not true. So the first step is to getting a partner on board with budgeting is to show them it can be fun. I like to do this with fun money, where you both get your own spending money. One for you, one for him, and decide on a monthly amount. This becomes your fun money, and neither of you gets to say what that is being spent on. Even if it's wasted, you don't get to say anything about it. That's your waste money, his waste money. I mean, hopefully you won't waste it, but it's your fun money. Number 2, save up for something important. Make a plan to save for something important. Number 3, have a regular budget date. Get into the rhythm where you have time set aside to talk, and that's where she goes into talking about your talking about your future, what you would like to do, like vacations, renovate the house, all those bucket list things, and pick something fun to start. Maybe should we go on a vacation next year, or then look at it together about what it would look like to actually accomplish that. Pick just one thing to start and make it not about spending less, but about spending more on something that really matters. I used to dread talking about money, but now I love these dates and getting on the same page financially and feeling like a team. All right, this was a long one, but I thought it was interesting. So let me do some reviewing here. Usually your bank account balance doesn't give you all the information. It doesn't know what other expenses are going to come up, such as emergency vet visits or how much you're spending on groceries. Budget with the money you have currently, not money you're expecting in the future, such as future paychecks or tax refunds. A budget will help you be wise with your have-to expenses so you can make room for your wants. Give every dollar a job. Check in on your budget with the mindset of a boss checking in with their employees. Whenever money comes in, ask yourself, what does that money need to do before you get paid again? Budget your savings dollars too. Instead of one lump savings fund, divide it into categories that you are saving for. Embrace your true expenses. Treat less frequent non-monthly expenses like car repairs, appliance replacement, vet bills, like a monthly bill. Roll with the punches. Recognizes circumstances and priorities can change, and your budget should too. And last, age your money. Have a goal to age your money 30 days, meaning money made today will pay next month's expenses. All right, guys, I know this was a little bit long, but I thought it was interesting. Hopefully it was interesting and you learned something, especially the meal planning to save money, and having some fun date nights before you start budgeting to talk about your dreams and your bucket list, and then just start small little savings for fun, And then for whatever you both decided on, like vacation, I think that this was a real helpful. This will be really, really helpful. And thank you for watching. I appreciate you.